Hey folks, welcome to our latest episode of Clan from the Stands. Disappointed to say we were meant to be at full strength, but we're not. We have a certain Mr. Phil Cato who is away. And Colin was saying that before. We're actually in different continents, right? So Phil is away on a holiday just now, in Egypt, right? I believe he's in Egypt, right? I got that right. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, okay, so he's in Egypt just now enjoying some much needed winter sun. Um, Chris is in the kingdom, as he always is,
No,
representing.
in Paisley, mate, in Paisley.
Oh, you're in Paisley. Okay, so you're reporting back to HQ after your spy mission. That's great. Colin is in Glasgow or the Glasgow area as usual. I'm actually in Dallas, Texas for work this week. So yes, across the pond. So but we still make time for an episode because it's important because there's been 6 games, lots to talk about as always. Twitter's gone absolutely mental. We love to see it. Some great debates on there. That's what it's all about. Fans giving their opinions and talking about what we think's going on at the club and what we think about, some of the results and some of the narratives. So we're going to get into all of that throughout this episode. So we're going to start. The good news is we do have some positive results to start with. So we had a double header against Dundee, 2 wins against. Again, we spoke last in the podcast. We felt relatively bullish, even regardless of the Clan's form. That given Dundee's form, which was much worse than the Clan's form, those were 2 very winnable games and games that we should find a way to deal with, and we took care of business, boys. So that was a nice way, nice 4 points in the bag, and just keeps the Dundee and Fife outside those playoff spots, and that nice bit of distance between them and that other pack. That kind of league now really looks like it's split into two, right? Where you've got the top kind of 4 teams, and then you've got this pack that we are
Big
now.
four in it. Is it the big
Yeah, it's
four?
a big four, and then there's another pack of four, which again we're going to get to, which it looked like it might be a pack of three, but it looks like Coventry have certainly strung a number of results together, one against us as well, but beating Belfast along the way, and had a really good stretch of form over the festive period. What do we make of the Dundee games? First of all, let's start with the positive side of things before we get to the 4 games that came after that, which were less positive for the Clan. Chris, what was your take on the Dundee, the 2 wins against Dundee? As expected, as comfortable as you'd hoped. Thoughts and feelings?
Yeah, I mean Dundee are a bit of a shambles, Ross. To be honest with you, I think last week before the last set of games at the weekend, I think defensively they scored 5 goals
Mm.
across the whole season in the league,
Hmm.
and their penalty kill is sitting at under 60%. For me, that
Mm.
Dundee have big problems, to be honest with you, Ross. So listen, we'll take the wins as they come, but certainly they have their issues to seek, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Colin, for you the same. It was a 3-1 and 4-1 wins. Both, they
Yeah,
were
it
pretty.
was.
I just all the games they were pretty comfortable. I felt like
Yeah,
it wasn't a ton of jeopardy in those games. Felt the Clan were in control. I do think our netminder, like I think those games, my opinion was like that's when you realize you've got a netminder that's like a level above the opposition and how good that feels in terms of like you didn't really feel like we were in too much trouble in those games. But I don't know what you thought, Colin.
I mean, it was kind of like, I don't mean standard, but there was still times where, like, they've got the worst penalty kill in the league. We had the worst power play in the league. So it was
Mhm.
like a battle of who was shittest, if you know what I mean. And it was
It
in
was them.
special teams.
They were shit.
So, yeah. So we actually got a power play goal there, but we got 2 empty netters in over the 2 games. So, like I said, I think we should be winning games like that, especially when Dundee are shipping like 7 and 8 goals at home a time at the moment against people. So yeah, it was tighter than I would have liked it to be, if you know what I mean, and especially Braehead. But yeah, but look, it's job done when you get the 4 points, so you don't really care sometimes how you win. Winning's winning. So
Mm. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was good. So again, that was us off to a bit of a flying start to the festive period. That's obviously was the Boxing Day and the 27th. We then again, listen, the games come thick and fast at this time of year, which is we love loads of hockey to watch. But then we had a pair of games against the Belfast Giants. Both games lost by the odd goal. So we were right in those games. We were there. We were hanging with them, but we didn't manage to get it done and came out on the wrong side of those 2 games. Again, that's the customary annual home and home against the Belfast Giants. Um, were we happy with it? I mean, obviously Belfast are one of those we mentioned, the top 4 teams. You know, again, we were in the games in terms of the, we didn't let the game get away from us. We were competitive for sure. I actually
Uh,
thought we were a bit I thought we were a bit unlucky in the I think it was the second game. Was it the 2-1 game? I thought we were a bit unlucky in that game. Um, what do we think of
3-1
those?
down though in Belfast, and then we fought back to make it three each. It was an overtime, so we got a point in Belfast, which is probably better than what I would have expected.
Yeah.
But again, it's just I sometimes think that see when we get beat, like even by that one goal, the team's lacking physicality. Like we're really soft as a team. That we kind of
Mhm.
when we get beat, we kind of whimper out. We don't kind of. I don't mean you don't see a bit of fight about it, but you see it when we play other teams. If we take the lead, they get far more physical and they start laying a little bit more hits. They're more aggressive in the forecheck. And I've got to say that I think we are, if you call it a Corey Nielsen team, we're nowhere even remotely like a Corey Nielsen team because we're just too soft. We're too small a team, and we can't. I don't think we can stand up to the physicality of these bigger sides that are just skating and bigger and stronger than what we are. They kind of grind it out of us. So even if we're in a game, we just seem to kind of whimper out of it, in my opinion. But Belfast, yeah, I was more disappointed at the away game than I was at the home game. If you know what I mean, the home game,
I
I
thought
thought
I thought we played. Chris, you think? I mean, I don't know. You thought I actually felt like you say, a point in Belfast. The home game. I actually felt both games again. You say mention calling the fight back. They're almost two losses that I don't know. I wasn't that disappointed. I know it sounds crazy to say. I'm obviously always disappointed when we don't win, but in a way, given the situation and team, I know we beat Dundee twice, but Dundee obviously not in great shape as we mentioned. I actually thought that we put together a couple of decent performances in those games, and I wasn't too unhappy in terms of like the overall performance level. You feel differently, Chris? Do you feel those games were not as close as the scoreline might suggest?
Yeah, we lack an X factor, Ross, to be honest with you. We really like that guy. We're miles off the top four, and that was kind of one of the aims that we looked at this season, to actually break that top four. And we're just not there. And I don't necessarily think it's for a lack of investment. I just think a lot of chemistry and the coach has now had two seasons at this and the main we're going to come on to the coaching sure later on, but the main thing is that we lack goals, and that's now been a pattern over two seasons. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, well, I think Chris, I remember we're picking a point you made there. Actually, it's interesting. I remember last year that you sniffed it early, right? We were light on the decor in terms of numbers and investment, right? And maybe I think you also picked up on maybe terms of lacking maybe the right level of experience in that decor, and that was a problem last year. The goaltending wasn't as good as this year. We do seem to rectify that side of things, right? In terms of, when you look at the league goals conceded, we're actually, it's not terrible. I'm not saying we're the best in the league or anything, but I certainly definitely believe now, like, we are not that team that just, you go, God, we're giving up really soft, cheap goals every single week, right? But it's the other end of the ice that seems to be still, as you say, Chris, an unsolved mystery, right? So are you happy, Chris, in terms of the investment in the decor and the goaltending? You feel that we've got that right this year, and it is just a matter of the forwards, or do you still think that's part the decor and the goaltending's part of the problem?
I think about they brought the big guy in, to add a bit of physicality up front, and to be honest, he's not really done it. Um, and I think that's what I think Colin's right in terms of we don't really have that drive to the net. We've got guys who play safe in my opinion,
Mm.
Ross. And we don't know the guys that will take a risk and potentially get their nose bled, and go to the dirty areas. And I think that's costing us.
Yeah. Okay. I think Colin, I want to come to the other two games that were definitely in the disappointing bracket. So I almost feel like Dundee happy would have been very upset if we'd lost either of those games. So got the business done. Good. Belfast games, I actually felt we played pretty well, and a point in Belfast, the home game was tight, and I did think we played quite well. We then welcomed the Blaze, and again, we've talked about this in this podcast. The games you target and go. home games against the team, the pack of teams that like it or not, that's where we're at the moment, right? And the Blaze are that team that have been hanging about. They've not been cut adrift with Dundee and Fife. They've gone on a decent run of form. They come up to Glasgow, and honestly, I thought the performance was really poor. And then obviously we played the Nottingham Panthers. And again, I would argue this as well. The Panthers team that have had injuries lately and have actually been struggling a little bit of late. And again, we get beaten against the Panthers. I know the goals came a little bit later, but it was, we were in the game for, a stretch there. We started quite well in that game actually. Um, but and another defeat, which was, again, just in terms of like Chris, you mentioned it, like Panthers are clinical. We don't have that. Like, Colin, how are you feeling? Taking those. It's almost like this 6 games. You've had a pair, a pair,
Yeah.
a pair, and it's a bit of everything, right?
It's like I was going to say you touched on about like imports, not imports, sorry, about injuries and everything else. Right now, Nottingham had the exact same number of imports as we did
Yeah.
on
Just
Sunday.
so everyone knows that's Chris's thumb and not anything else. Just so everyone knows.
Yeah,
There we
and
go.
Coventry had 15, we had 14. So it's not as if we're massively outgunned when imports, like being down on injuries. Granted, we've got guys injured, but we've brought other guys in. We've not replaced MD. We've covered people when they've been injured, so we have spare imports. So we've still got as close to the other team's import quota on the ice, so to speak. So that doesn't really float with me, the injuries part, because every team has injuries as the season goes on. It's how you, like you've said before, Ross, and if and paraphrase what you've said, is essentially a coach earns his money when the chips are down.
Yeah, and it's next
And
man up. It's next
yeah,
man up.
and
But it
we've
has to
brought
be.
these guys in for injury cover now. If you look at Mackay, I'd imagine Kelb came in because he was in the IR list, right? Kelb's been a bit of a shining light this year. But when you
Yep.
look at the guys we've brought in, like Risk has 2 points in 10 games. Is he actually doing what we really need him to do? No. So when you look at that aspect, I'm sure it's 2 and 10.
Mm.
Um, and then Tedesco's come in and he's only been in a couple of games, right? But when you look at the guys we're bringing in, we haven't actually replaced MD. So we've not actually said, by the way, this guy's not actually working. We need to move him on and bring in somebody to better the team. All we're doing is replacing these injuries. But um, I, the 2 games, watching both of them, the bit that probably pissed me off the most is when I watched the Nottingham game, it was we outshot them, but again, the high percentage shots. I mean, the bad thing was Sammy get injured. You actually heard them
I
scream when he
know.
got hit with the
Was that
puck.
puck to the ankle? I think he took. It was.
Yeah,
It
it
was
sounded a
just,
bad
yeah.
one. So, like, I'd imagine if that's the case, he may be out for a little bit of time. I
Yeah.
hope not,
I'd be
but
shocked. I'd be shocked if he's not out for a couple of weeks. I
yeah,
mean,
because
hopefully somebody can play through it. But hopefully nothing's broke. But it was a
yeah,
sore one.
you actually heard them. Like people were saying that you could hear him like scream when he get hit. But basically, when that happens, it's one of those things. The bit that annoyed me, sorry, was the thing after it where the clan put this thing out that said that a hard fought battle, we were unlucky and blah blah blah. Almost try to convince you that we should have really won the game. Should we? Well, we would have won the game if we scored more goals. We're not scoring enough goals, and I'll touch on it in a minute, but like we have we have scored over the past 15 games, right? Just to give you a quick rundown, we have won 4 and 15. We've 3 overtime losses and 1 overtime win. We've conceded 53 goals and we've scored 31. So we're averaging 3.53 a game conceded and 2.07 to score. In 6 games out of the 15, we've scored 1 goal. There's 1 game where we had 0 goals, and 2 out of the 4 games, sorry, 2 out of the 15 games, we've won by 2 or more, and 2 out of the 15, we've won by a single goal. So when you look at that, we're averaging like if you put it on it, there's 44 of our 61 goals have came from all 15 forwards, every one of them, right? That's including Brits. Now, If you average that, that's 2.93 goals per player over the entire season, which isn't good enough. And the top 11 point scorers we have in the team at the moment, as in the league form alone, five of
Bram,
them are defenders,
I was gonna say no.
and not one of them is over a point a game. Not one person. And it goes from, I think it's, is it Saigo is just over zero point 0.5 and then it goes up. But I think your zero point 0.8 a game is our top point scorer and then it drops right down. That's a shambles. Like you've got guys coming in, even Yarisic, who's got very little points. Guys like Parry, they're not putting up enough for an import. I remember back in the day, we used to say that a decent Brit would give you zero point 0.5 a game, right? And even now, when you look at some of the stats of, I mean, Brady risks 2 goals in 10 games, right? And he's got 2 points in 10 games. Hugo Roy is 2 points in 15 games, right? You've got Tedesco's zero point 0.5 because he's just in the door, right? But Yarisic is 4 points in 26 games. Austin Mitchell King's got the same point production as him, and he's a first year Brit. So
Yeah, it's look. I think listen. I love all the stats, Connor, and I think it just validates what we all know that there's a it's easier to coach defense than offense, right? And I think th this is where I think there's huge limitations in terms of you mentioned coming to coach Chris, right? In terms of Corey's ability to coach this stuff. I don't know if you saw after the game, the Coventry game, if you listened to Jerry and Murph, did a bit of they do their kind of the podcast, just kind of reaction to the game. Um, Again, I like the idea, and actually, there was a couple of bits that I like where I felt like Murph and Jerry were actually. What I liked about it was that they were kind of calling out like people to watch, and like there was actually a few nuggets of insights into things that they're seeing in terms of like watch this player in these moments and these things and some things that maybe go unnoticed. But I do think generally like, it's the same problem. It's like it's all an uber positive spin. It's like the Coventry goalie. Oh, he plays so big and he came out and he was aggressive, and it's like a forward's job is to solve the goal. That's literally the fucking job description, guys. And I just think there's got to be a little bit more. I know it's hard, right? If you're employed by the club, it's so that this is what I'm not really 100% sure why what the purpose of that is outside of just like like it just feels like you say, Colin, about the thing after Nottingham. It's like everything comes out. It's overly pot. It's like going, look, we are at home against Coventry, a team that games we know we have to win those games, right? They're got to have, and we got, and again, it was like, oh, they beat Belt, they're on a good tear. Well, I don't care, right? They're coming
tells
to
you
our
that
game.
every game, how good
They're
other teams
coming,
are.
yeah, but they are on a good tear. But guess what? They gave praise to the Coventry coach, absolutely deserved because he is doing a good job. He's turned things around there. Like he's done a good job. You can't deny it. Like that's where praise is due. But then on the flip side, you then also have to be critical of the Clan's job, where say, well, my understanding is at Coventry, he's a guy who's basically doing it on his own on a lesser budget, and we've got more than one coach, right, at Clan with a bigger budget, right, and we can't get it figured out. And it's like, I'm sorry, the answer isn't that all the goalies in the league that we play against, unless you're playing Dundee or Fife, are just so
He's
good that you can't figure out. It's just not good enough. And I think
he's
they've got to start
interviewed.
talking about that. They've got to start talking about the fact that,
It's
if
not
you're going
good
to do
enough.
that, if you're going to, my point is, Colin, you're going to put that podcast out there. Those nuggets and things are great, but you also have to be objective and balanced and say, guys, some of this stuff like the power play was glossed over a little bit, but it's like it's really it's not acceptable. Like it has to be better, and it's not something that we as a club should accept as a standard that our power play sits where it is. That are, to your point, Colin, our offensive production. You can hang your hat on Sammy
No.
as a goaltender is absolutely doing his job and earning his paycheck. I think you can. You said, Colin, the decor are doing a pretty good job of keeping the puck out. Right, we're not conceding as many goals, and they're contributing offensively. So it's pretty clear where the problem is. So let's talk. Let's have an honest conversation about that, and talk about the fact that we've got a lot of these players. And I'll go back to it. And I know we have the debate. I go, look, I just believe Cody has a DNA of a player that he wants. I think he undervalues. It doesn't matter if it's Gary Hayden, you can go to Conley. These people that go, these guys by nature in most sports, right? How many times do you go,
Mm.
you get a goal scorer who's got that instinct, who's the hardest working player in the team? You don't. You get guys that just work really hard up front, they don't score as much goals, but they get praised for their work rate, right? You need to prioritize having clutch people. Manchester Storm
Yeah.
will finish above us because of Gary
Oh
Hayden.
yeah,
Guys like Gary
yeah.
Hayden, right? Whether
They
you like him
scored
or
with
don't.
0.04 seconds left against Fife.
Yeah, but look at what's he a game? How many points is he a game, Colin? I don't know what he is, right? I'm
Gary
not checked.
Hayden. Gary Hayden's over a point a game.
Yeah, so that's my. But yeah, we just dispose of these guys because we don't fit. And like you say, Colin, I'd understand it if it was like every guy's got to be 6'5", and it's like we're just a massively physical, just dump and chase, and we're gonna absolutely beat the shit out of you. We're not that either. So I'm like, if you put like, how can you
Hayden's 30
devalue
points. 30
what?
points he scored this year.
Right. So I'm just
Our
like,
top point production's 20.
it's a no-brainer, but so I think there's an issue with the coach here in terms of the recruitment, in terms of the ability. Like the guy at Coventry isn't saying Sammy's played like we'll find ways. It's we will find ways to solve for these goaltenders, right? That's how you're going to win games, right? The goalie can play great, you can still score against them, right? And you've got to
Mm.
find ways to do it, and we're not doing it. I think they talked about guys maybe shooting when they should make the extra pass. That's what Jerry Murphy's saying. Is in the pressure, the crowd on their back
That's
to shoot. It's like, guys, you're professional. Again, you've got
you
to be
can't
better.
buy that. I mean, these guys are
Got
paid
to
a
be
lot of
better.
money and whatever. But see, when you look at it, right, what I took from it as well was Corey had an interview. Was it after the Coventry game? And he looked like mute of ideas. He looked
Yeah.
as if it was almost like he was saying about the power play being poor and everything else and goal scoring. I'm thinking, wait a minute, you're a year and a half into a team and you're just figuring out about no scoring goals. The power play we've seen since day dot has been poor, and you're now looking, thinking, oh, it's poor in January. Like, that's a coaching issue. We have the worst power play in the league, and we are eighth in the PK in the league, eighth or
Yeah.
ninth. So where special teams can win you games, and it's like they don't seem to. I don't know if it's is he micromanaging the game so much. He keeps talking about details and everything else, but I don't know. I mean, we talked about improvement, right? Now the league's got better, and have we got better? Yes, we have, but we still have the same problem. It's a bit like the first sign of madness. We're continuing to do the same kind of thing we did last year offensively and expecting different results. And
Yeah.
last year we had Uli. We don't really have that clutch scorer.
Colin, there's another example. Uli, another guy you go, right, he's proven himself clutch guy, goal scorer, and we find a way for him to go to another. And again, Guildford and Manchester, two teams that are right where we are, and we want to elevate ourselves above. I don't know what his points are this year, again, I'm not checked, but I'm pretty sure he's doing better than most of our forwards, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Um, so again, it's just a matter of like I just think it's madness to undervalue these guys when you find them. And like, guys at Hayden as well wouldn't be on like a ridiculous wage either, right? Based on where we recruited them from, right? And obviously you earn your money as well. But yes, so but listen, let's get to some of the Twitter questions because we've got so much. I'm going to get through them all with time, but we'll see. So we'll come to this one first. So we get Obi Clan Kenobi just says Corey's time's up. He thinks that he feels that the Clan Towers are not investing in the team. We've mentioned that last podcast and using two ways and remaining imports, like they're caring
They're
more
not
about the
investing
bank
because they
balance.
don't trust them. Like that comes to me as
Yeah.
well when you think about it. Is it that we've heard this story before and he's not done it? And is he? I mean, we were saying earlier on, we had said that we were looking at like top five, even if you went fifth, right? But when you actually look at it, at the moment, if Coventry keep going the way we're going and we keep kind of trundling along, we're going to end up in the exact same position we ended up in last year,
Well, we could end up winning. Yeah, we could. Yeah.
which is what.
Crazy.
So I can maybe see the reason why they're not investing so much money because it's I suppose if you were putting money into something and you're thinking, if I'm going to spend this amount of cash, is it going to come back and bite me here, or is it actually going to make any improvement?
The thing
I
is, we
don't
could we
know.
could finish we could finish eighth. That's the worst outcome this year. I mean, we're not going to finish below
Yeah.
eighth, but we could. Um, Chris, what on earth are you doing? All we can see is your thumb.
Sorry, mate, I was doing some work at the same time as I'm talking to you, mate, but it's all done now, thank you.
Oh no, no worries, mate. Sorry, didn't realize. So you continue on with that, mate.
What I've
I
seen
thought
for
you
the
were like,
past 5 minutes is this.
yeah. It's good viewing though. People it gives something to talk about. I'm gonna come to you in this one, Chris. I want to get your opinion. So Rory Martin, and this has been I only saw that I first heard about this rumor when actually Rory put it on the Twitter when we put the tweet out. He said he's bored of talking about how shite Clan are. I think we all are a little bit. He said we've been doing that for years. It doesn't change. But what's the thoughts on this? There's a rumor that, and I did a bit of digging on this, Chris. There's this rumor that Jerry may become the GM, and that the guy they brought in to be GM will focus more on the arena stuff. So almost it feels like maybe that was more Gareth's role. So like, how would you feel about that? Like Jerry becoming the GM of the Clan. How do you feel about that rumor? We don't know if it's true, but we're just putting it out there.
Yeah, I mean it's been over X over the last few days and stuff like that. I'm not really sure, Ross. I mean he's certainly got the personality for it. So he has, and whether he has a contacts or whether he has anything, it's a tough one, mate. For for the clan and Jerry, I'm not entirely sure, Ross, with it. As I say, big personality. Does he have that option to be the GM? Perhaps time will tell if indeed it's true.
Okay, yeah, I think we say so. Definitely a personality, big handsome guy, Jerry as well. But yeah, I think it's I don't know. I'm the same. I'm like the GM. I mean, he's a huge hockey fan. He loves his hockey. It would be an interesting one, right? I just think I do think they'll have his and Murph relationship is interesting as well. I don't know, like. Yeah, I think that's what I'm a little bit struggling with, and kind of what would that mean for then if he's GM? How would he work with them? What's Murph's role? So I'd be keen to get clarity in that from the club if that's the case. But obviously, we think everyone, like most folk at the
And he's
Clan,
a
would have
big part of the club, isn't he? Like he's been a
oh, wait,
big part of
everyone
the
loves
club
Jerry because
through the
Jerry's done a
thingy.
yeah,
Like
done a
for
great job.
me, the GM thing, there's a part of me that thinks why not, but then there's also a part of me like if you look at Pasha for example, he went to Nottingham. Look at where Nottingham are now with their recruitment. If you look at the I mean, he might have all these contacts, but I think for me, a guy in that position needs to be really like in tune and really. Now he might. Like, I'm maybe judging a book by its cover here. I think he's integral and really important to the club, so there's no doubt about it. But I think he might need a bit of tutorage. Like he might need a little bit of help to get him to that level, if you know what I mean, to be like a proper GM. But then again, he might already be at that. I don't work with him day to day. I can only see what I see. But I do think he's very important to the club. He's very personable. You can when you
Yeah,
speak to him and when you he's always he always makes time for people. He'll stop and speak. So I think he's a great advert for the club. So I don't I'm not against it, but I'm not 100% behind it because I don't know his
yeah.
contact base, if you know what I mean,
Yeah,
if that makes
exactly.
sense.
And I think I would also argue if Cody's still at the club and the coach gets autonomy over all the signings, then the question is what exactly is that role? There's questions I would have about it in terms of, again, I think we all say love Jerry. He again, I think Jerry would turn his hand to most things and do a decent job because he's a big smart guy. But yeah, look, we'll see what happens if that bears out to be true. But I would imagine that might be a next season thing if the rumor's true. I wouldn't, yeah, it would be interesting if they made that change sooner. Okay, a couple of comments. So good. Callum Stewart was replying to Raymond Monaghan, and I was just saying that Corey's yeah, always contacts from back in the day are gone, and he's yeah, they give everything for him. His coaching style is a bit outdated. Michael White said he was getting the Nottingham stream. I'm a sadist or just mad as a box of frogs. You're a sadist, mate, 100%. Um,
Has
yeah,
he had, but has it like see when you say that, like he's out of date. Paul Thompson plays the same style of hockey, right? If you look at it in that era of things, and look where Cardiff are.
yeah,
Is that
fair.
just to do with recruitment?
But I think that's. Go ahead, Chris.
Paul Thompson with Coventry, back in the day before the clan came into existence, Coventry, the most successful club in EIHL history, and that was down to Tomo and his recruitment and his work ethic
Contacts.
and the way he plays. So listen, the guy's a winner. No question about that. And I'm not surprised that Cardiff are where they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, and I think maybe Tomo's more willing to adapt. I don't know. I mean, I've not watched enough of Cardiff to pass comment. Obviously, I can see where they are on the table and their performances. There's a bit of a debate here about just fans needing to vent, and some people saying it's going to become toxic, and I think clan blocking people. I think he'd be. Look, our policy here at Clan from the Stands is this, so that we've obviously talking that, and you get look, people post things. Sometimes you don't agree with it. Sometimes you might be like, well, it's a bit shit. To me, it's like, see if fans, as long as people aren't being over the top, nasty, personal attacking people, like just because I think a player isn't up to snuff and Colin thinks we've had the Gary Hayden debate for years, right? Doesn't mean that we fall out. Like I think that he's
Love how
valuable.
he's touching back on this because Gary
No, no,
Hayden's one
no,
of
no,
the
no,
top
no, no. But
scorers
it's,
in the
do you know what I
league.
mean? But it's like players that I go, I think he doesn't look good. He turns out a good
Yeah.
player. You can agree, and sometimes you can admit, you go, do you know what? Maybe I was wrong about that. And I think the
Yeah,
fan
mate.
debate should be encouraged online. That I do think the clan should do a better job of having those discussions. And again, look, if people, and we have seen sometimes people overstep, the best thing to do is ignore. We've talked with Chris, just ignore them. Don't give them any airtime, right? that's where you do the kind of quiet, like, okay, we're going to just block that person. But I do think that, generating conversation is really, really important for fans. And that's why we are very open to, like, again, people having debates and people have said things I don't always agree with and think, oh, but it's their opinion. And as long as they're not doing anything over the top, you're
But
absolutely entitled to your opinion. No problem. Like,
an
no
opinion's
problem
like
at
an
all.
arsehole in it. Everybody's got one. So it's one of
Yeah.
those things
And
that you kind of you're right though. Like you kind of want to spark a little bit of controversy. Like in general, like we've always got a difference of opinion, but just because we like different things, you know what I mean? Like I like MMA and motorbikes. You like football and ice hockey, and you know what I mean? Like everybody's into different things, and it's one of those ones that when you say things as well, if people don't agree with it, fine. Like that's the whole point. It's a conversation, and but I do think that the club need to maybe do a little bit and almost respond a little bit as well, and have a bit of banter. Like I sometimes think that it's too cut and dry.
do you know what it is, Colin? Do you know, I go to that podcast, right? I think this is where the club, like, if I think if the club are a bit more like, again, they need to be careful and think about. I do think it's tricky, like for guys like Murph and that. How objective can they be? I don't know how easy that is, but I do think, see if there was more authenticity in terms of, like, look, we talk about things that we kind of look. We're watching the games, right? Okay, so it's kind of like, and again, there's four of us normally on this podcast. So the idea is that, we'll cover a vast, and a lot of people get a lot of people say, "Colin, totally agree with you on that point, mate, whatever," right? I always listen with the intent to understand. You're like, I think Hayden shite. I would ask you questions. You say, this is what I want to understand why you think that, because I think you're crazy. So, but I want to understand your position on it, right? But I think the club, what happens, and the reason that there's this kind of like friction between like fans going, oh, but I've seen too many fans going, I'm going to get blocked again, and that. I'm like, why is that relationship? And I think if everything is just got to be positively spun all the time, you are going to have the opposite effect where people get fed up with it and go, so you will feel this is all a bit negative. Instead of being like, look, at the end of the day, Corey, I don't expect Corey Nielsen to come out and ball players like he needs to do what he thinks is best for the culture of the team. But I do think the kind of stuff like, if you're going to have people assessing games and performances that are somewhat objective watching it, get them to do it. Look, Jerry's a fan of the club. He's a fan of ice hockey. He knows his stuff. Murph does have really strong knowledge of ice hockey. And I would love to hear the honest, like, and I know that's tough because they partly recruit these guys. So maybe there's a different way for the club to think about it. Because then I think you get more people going, this is balanced. It's more aligned with what I'm seeing. And I think that can help a little bit. But yeah. Um, Okay, so Ian McIntyre, Eddie Salt said the point in Belfast was good. That was good. We had Ian say very frustrated performances, terrible Saturday, but played well Sunday. He did think we were the better team. He said, if we ever get a full squad, is there enough time to get them settled into lines, and will we be able to play differently with everyone available? We kind of answered this last time, I think, Ian, in terms of like getting everyone back. Obviously, we got Risk and Tedesco. I know you're right, Colin. The points again don't look good. He's coming to a team that isn't producing. I actually think Risk and Tedesco have been decent. I do think, why did we wait so long to sign those? That's the bizarre thing for me. It felt like we could have got
Health
those
thing.
two guys like weeks before, but like, is there a hope? And I did see. I don't know if you saw Cade Nielsen's out injured with a. It's a bit of a weird injury, is what they said. Um, but the question I want to ask you is, like, and I think this is what was alluded to when I think Murph interviewed Cade, or was it post game? I can't remember who interviewed him. I watched it. he was asked about, like, and Kay was talking about like getting healthy at the right time, right? So this is alluding to like, look, at the end of the day, the league season's a long season, but we all know in ice hockey, it becomes about the playoffs, right? So, and if you're in, you're in. And at that point, if you're playing a team who could have been phenomenal all year, right? If you're healthy at that time and you're in form, that's where obviously we've had the shocks of the past, right? Teams that we haven't expected to win the playoffs have gone and won those playoff games. Do we think that with this clan roster at full strength, a healthy team with those extra players, do we think there is a path for some glimmer of hope at the end of this season where we could go on a playoff run, get to the weekend at least, maybe even compete for, a playoff title?
Depends. But I don't know because like I think you miss Mackay's physicality, but who do you drop in defence and other to pull him back? Because Kelp's come in and he's been excellent. So if you were to drop somebody, who would you drop in defence? And then from a forward line, the guys that are out, who would sit out? So who would be rested? Okay, it would create competition, I get that. But would it be any better? I don't know. Because the guys that have been injured haven't really set the world on fire either.
What
So
do you think, Chris? Do you think we could think we got a chance?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pretty play from the forwards and a lot of speed, but what we lack is a cutting edge and guys who are willing to go to the dirty areas and potentially get hurt as they're actually creating space for their teammates. And I think that's what we lack. We lack somebody who will actually, go to those areas and create space for others.
you've
Okay.
got the guy like Burke. Burke can find a pass through the eye of a needle, right? The guy's hockey IQ is phenomenal. I didn't really see it much until probably maybe end October. He started to actually appreciate how good this guy was. But he's finding people, but they're not good enough to put the puck in the net.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So see if you had a guy that was like a snipe that you could pass a puck off to, they're going to score pretty much 9 times out of 10 with the way he puts a puck on a plate for people.
Yeah. I I actually think we've got a goaltender that can do it. I think the decor are good. And I do think if you get all the forwards, I think that there's bound to be some chemistry. So I actually think there could, again, there'll be a lot of things that have to go right for us. But I do think it's a possibility. Let me get to some of these other questions because there's so many. So Graham, a lot of people like Graham saying about bringing in a new coach, bringing the right guy in the summer. Raymond Monaghan saying, what happened to Nielsen? Says Chris will tell you his Panthers team had aggression style, refused to give up. He just feels some arrogance and things like offside icing calls. Officials are debating, like sent guys to the part of the ice assuming they'd win. The call to apply unspoken pressure. So he's like, we're not seeing that from Corey. Rob Massey, time up for Corey. An experienced hockey GM is needed at the club as a priority. Are we the most boring team to watch in the league? Third lowest team in scoring. Considering an increased budget, is that down to poor recruitment yet again or poor coaching? It's probably both, Rod. Let's be honest. Like it starts at recruitment, but coaching does come into it. Can you get more out of
Don't
these players?
forget, he said last year when me and Chris went to that thing that he was responsible for every player that they signed
Yeah,
and he would live and die by the recruitment he made. So, therefore, everything is on his lap, both coaching and recruitment, if that is the letter of the law.
100%. Scott said, I think we know Corey's time is up, either now or the end of the season. He said, what six players do you want to keep? So again, that's a good question. So if you had to build a team next year around six players, who are your top six retention priorities based on what you've seen so far to date?
I mean,
Sammy's number one, right?
you'd keep Pullman and Fram,
Yep. Well, Pullman, Fram definitely.
and
Pullman,
then I'd keep Buck
mm,
just because he's passing's phenomenal.
I'm going to
And
say
then
Schwartz. Schwartz. You have to keep
Schwartz,
Schwartz.
yeah, I would
A
do that.
no-brainer.
And Sidorov, I think he's kind of
I'm not a Sidorov guy.
I wasn't, but when you see kind of at the moment, he's doing the best with a bad bunch. So yeah,
Langen's the one I would keep.
Langen,
Yeah, I would keep
yeah,
Langen, Schwartz, Fram, Sammy, Pullman, McKay.
L maybe.
I think Caleb a good. Yeah, He's done well this year. I think McKay.
As a spare who can play defence and forward, I would keep
No,
Kale
but
for
his
that
point
reason. But
production's pretty good considering when he came in. So
Yeah, I
Kelb was a
agree.
guy that's come in and actually you notice him. So
Yeah.
where is he?
And probably, like you say, Pullman, if he can stay healthier, then yeah, I think he is good. I have a little bit of worry about his ability to stay healthy. Um,
Saying
so
Kelb's plus minus is -1.
yeah, but yeah, I think outside of that, like maybe they're the six. So Sammy, Pullman, Fram, Schwartz, Kelb, and then well, you're saying who did you say?
Like
Sidorov
Burke.
and Burke. Sorry, and then you're like maybe so you say Burke. Like Chris and I maybe would
It's
go with
a really
Langan.
difficult one to answer when you're like, in January, just start at January, It's a very difficult question to answer at this moment in time. Players can go on a hot streak, etc. Guys you're expecting to go on a hot streak can actually light up the lamp, So listen, it's
We're,
probably a
we're
question
halfway
more
through
for
the season, so if they're
more
not
for
fucking
I know,
started it,
mate.
they better
I
start
know,
it
I know,
soon.
Barry, I know, but
Yeah.
I don't know. A wee bit strange question for me.
No,
They've
I don't
played
mind it.
they've played about 40 games. If they can't do it now, then they're never going to go on a streak. But for me, that's just imports. Like the Brits, I would personally go after I would probably go after the boy Alderson from Fife as a Brit next year. He's a little bit more physical, likes to lay a hit in. We whatever we need to do next year, we need to add physicality and size to our team.
There you go. Tanya's saying is Corey's time up, or is it just injury ridden? I don't think the injuries are.
If
I
it is
think
up, right, I've got a
it's,
question for you. See
yeah.
if they were to say, right, okay, Corey's not going to be the coach next year, when would you pull him? And would you pull him before the end of the year and give somebody an opportunity to settle in?
Depends on time. It depends who you're going to get that. I would. I, I'd probably prefer to let him see the year out unless it's completely broken down. Yeah, that's what I would
So
go
would I.
for. Yeah, I think you got to let him see the year out and go right, finish the job and see what you can do in the play. I think there's still a chance that you're going to be in the playoff mix. It looks like the seeding, unless something miraculous happens, we're going to be in the bottom half of the seeding, so you're going to get a tough fixture anyway. But again, anything can happen in those games, and we've run it close last year. Even when we had a poor season. So yeah, I think you got to give him the season and say, look, see if he can produce
If you bring
something.
someone else in, you're talking about someone else using Corey's players, and
Yeah.
that's tough. I don't think a change in coaches is the right move at this time. I think you need to give him to the end of the season and make a decision.
Look what
Yeah.
Dyson Stevenson done with the exact same group of players that he inherited when the other coach got binned, and he got a tune out of them. So, well, who's to say that someone else couldn't come in with a better tactical awareness, improve the power play, and do a whole host of other things in the background with the same group of players?
Yeah. Listen. I'm not saying that couldn't happen. I'm just saying my answer to your question
You
is
would say the end of
stick
the
with
year.
100%. I think you've got to see it through.
I'm Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
impressed by Corey this season and last season, but at the same time, I think he
No.
deserves the chance to get to the end of the season and make a decision.
I agree, and I think there's still a chance that there is still a slim chance the season can be salvaged. Okay, we're going to finish up. Stephen Hill had one final. I think I got through everyone, so thanks to everyone. If I didn't, sorry if I missed anyone. He said 16th of November since we beat somebody that wasn't Fife or Dundee. Think about that, right? 11 defeats against other opponents since then. Only Fife and Dundee scored fewer goals. Do we need a much more attack-minded coach? If we're going to lose, at least entertain the fans. Rather lose 6-4 than 3-1. Um, you're not going to get an argument from me in terms of like the entertain. I'm a big like I want to be entertained when I go and pay my money and I'm watching the team. And it's not been a lot of fun this year. I know early doors it looked like it might be, but it's certainly not panned out that way. So yeah, I mean I think that that stat there, the like 16th of November since we beat somebody that wasn't the bottom two teams, it tells you everything you need to know about where we are right now. And something needs to change now. I also want to bring up if you look at our next games, I think we've got the Sheffield Steelers on Friday, this Friday at Braehead. We then go down on Sunday to Cardiff.
Yeah.
We then the following Friday welcome the Manchester. Sorry, we go to Manchester. Sorry, we're not even at home, and then we go to Coventry, and then we on the 18th, and they come up on the 23rd. So Sheffield home, Cardiff away, Storm away, Blaze
Have you
away,
seen it after
Blaze
it?
at home.
See, after that list of games you gave there, we've got Dundee away, and then we've got Nottingham at home, Guildford, Belfast away, Nottingham. I mean, the next run-in of the next maybe 10 games is a cracker.
Well, look, I mean, you're looking at those games. Look, Sheffield are going great guns right now. Cardiff, as you mentioned, down in Cardiff. I mean, it's the Storm away, Coventry away, Coventry home. Again, they're three critical games, like really critical games. Anything that you get at Sheffield and in Cardiff, bonus points, we'll take them, right? I think we'd all agree in that. But you're looking at those away to the Storm, and then we play Coventry twice. Obviously, go away first, then they come up to Glasgow. Um,
Sheffield have only won 1 and 4.
who?
Sheffield have only won one in the last 4 games. They get beat off Nottingham and then they lost back to back against Manchester. And then they've just beat Fife and Sheffield.
Oh well, maybe we got a sniff there. Colin smells an upset. Let's hope so. Um, but yes, I mean, how confident are we feeling in those next five games? And that's a rough run of form, right? That's four. I think three away games and two home games, right? So at least the Sheffield games at home.
Mm.
Chris,
Not
I think that's
confident
been
at all.
dubbed the herd show, isn't it?
yeah. How
Not
many
confident.
points? How many points?
But Sheffield, give me the other games again, Ross.
Sheffield at home, Cardiff away, Storm away, Blaze away, Blaze at home.
2 points.
Wow. And listen, so hopefully Sammy's not out, but if he's out, I'm worried. Colin, how many points? Five games, 10
Uh,
points available.
if Sammy's in goals, I would say the best you can hope for is 5. If he's not in goals, I'd say 2.
Yeah. I'm gonna go. I think we'll get four. I think we'll get four. I think
I
we'll
reckon it'll be one of those ones that will get something off Sheffield. Cardiff will beat us, Manchester will beat us, Coventry will beat us, and then we'll do something against Coventry at home. That's
yeah.
how I see it,
Yeah.
panning
But
it.
the home I'm looking at the two home games. Look, you see anything 5 points plus would be a fantastic return from those games. I think that's what that we got to be aiming for at least is trying to find a way to do that. I just think those three games, like given that we're in that pack, the Storm have put together a decent run. Like they could separate a little bit from us. Coventry are trying
He's
to
coached
catch us.
well.
Yeah, yeah. But
Storm
Coventry
are
are trying to,
coached
yeah,
well.
they
Cam
are.
Klitschko is doing really well as a coach there for them.
Yeah. So big five games for the boys. Got to find a way through adversity to get it done. And as I say, it's got to be that next man up mentality and got to try and figure out some of these offensive issues. But listen, we're going to call it there. We're at time. Thanks to everyone for all the input. We will hopefully see you at the arena. Like I say, we've got a couple of home games to look forward to, which is always nice. But yeah, thanks for good to see you boys. Thanks for joining. I know it's a bit late for you guys because I'm out here, but yeah, fingers crossed that we come back the next episode with a bit more optimism and things to be talking about on the positive side of things. But yeah, Mon The Clan.